Hi everyone, this is Anthony O'Flynn coming to you live from the Sunshine Coast. Beautiful day here. It's had quite a lot of rain earlier this year, so it's good for the tourists to have some sunshine. So this saga of the 2020 USA presidential election, is it coming to a close or is it really just beginning? Well, we're about to find out. The events of the inauguration are really less than 36 hours, I believe, away from now. That'll happen on the 20th, of course, of January, which will be about 3 a.m. our time on the 21st, Thursday morning. So I'll weigh in now of my thoughts, final conclusions about an election where personally I've never seen so much rhetoric, so much speculation, so much conjecture, so much analysis, so much focus. It's been quite amazing on many different levels, particularly the geopolitical implications for the outcome of this election are quite staggering, much greater than what most people realise. So the attention is warranted at a global level, and of course a superpower like America, there's a lot at stake in this election, and whatever the outcome on the 20th, the USA is heading into major turmoil that will continue well into this decade. Many reasons for that, but it will be a nation divided. And that is one of the greatest ploys of the elite, of the various power structure and the global agenda, is actually to divide the USA. And people playing into this red-blue division, Democrat-Republican division, pro this, anti that, you're simply playing into the hands of exactly what they want you to do, because they want you as a superpower to be crippled. So who wants that? Which country wants that? It's fairly obvious, isn't it? And the elite, the various transnational agencies, corporations, entities, whatever name you want to give to them, countries, they use these parties as a tool. And that's what a lot of people in this whole debate and analysis have completely forgotten. The Republican Party is simply a tool. The Democrat Party is a tool. It's a tool for a much bigger agenda. And people now talk about the Republican Party as the savior of humanity. It's actually a little bit ridiculous. Has everyone forgotten about George W. Bush? Similarly, the Democrat Party, they're just like a donkey, basically. That a much bigger agenda is being used to achieve goals that are much broader beyond the USA, actually. And the fanaticism which has been quite amazing towards Trump is it's a little bit displaced. There's a lot of psychological things going on there, which I'll make another video about, of the evaluation of the spiritual bypassing and the avoidance issues people are trying to have. But firstly, to come back to the astrology on the 20th is actually pretty electric. It is the Mars-Uranus square, which is pretty warlike, pretty combative, not a peaceful square. Those two planets are just over a degree from each other now. Sorry, that's a conjunction, not a square. They're just over a degree apart now, so that will be exact on the 20th. So expect the unexpected with Uranus, and expect it to be not so diplomatic with Mars involved as well. So this is going to be definitive for this inauguration, if there actually is one. Now, back in June, when I did the winter solstice energy update, our solstice in the southern hemisphere, I first publicly stated that I believe Donald Trump would get re-elected. I don't know if that's the right phrase anymore, but I'm now giving it a 70% chance that Donald Trump will retain the presidency. Now, there is a significant chance that there will be no inauguration at all on the 20th. There is a lot of speculation, of course, and I'm not going to go into all of my research in that context now because it's just too overwhelming. There's been so much spoken, written, so much conjecture about the election. I don't really feel called to add to that, at least today, perhaps in retrospect. But at a deeper level, from my view, there is just simply overwhelming needs to be a recalibration between the light and the dark with this ongoing balance that we need to address, which will happen anyway. If Biden does get inaugurated and become the president, then there will be a steeper path for the awakening. The awakening will go ahead no matter what. It will just be more, in some ways, faster but steeper if Biden does get inaugurated. So that will really take a lot of people out of their comfort zone and will really give people a real jolt. Under Trump, it will also give a jolt if some of these events, if there is some kind of military intervention with the inauguration. There's, so many different permutations and combinations with that it's just not helpful to go into that now. But the point is that it will put the brakes on the globalist socialist agenda, and it will give humanity some time to catch up and to recalibrate and to understand what is really going on here, because 99% of people, no, that's not correct. The overwhelming majority of people really have no access to alternative information, alternative news, alternative points of view. It's not necessarily they don't have access to it, they just choose not to connect with it yet. But if the process does occur where Trump retains the presidency, then this will be unavoidable pretty much for every person who has access to, TV, radio, whatever on the planet, which is going to be pretty much everyone. So that will make a lot of these issues that are coming to the surface inevitable. And it's important to remember that whatever happens with the inauguration itself is that there's been a movement started now in the USA, which is like a broader version of the truth movement, patriot movement. I would like to think it moves beyond any single political figure or any single political party, but that's just my view. And remember, things have to start somewhere and move from there. But to believe that Donald Trump is a solution to all the world's problems, that's a little bit of a childhood fantasy. And it doesn't mean that we don't have to take responsibility for our contribution to making a difference, making the world a better place. So these are important topics. And by the way, in the final hours before the outcome of this amazing events, anyone who tells you that they know what's going to happen is a complete fool, in my view. I mean, we've seen the people with the so-called intel be wrong continually. And if there was some advanced military operation in progress, I highly doubt that there would be credible, genuine, specific information given to someone with a YouTube channel that was just going to blab all that info that is intrinsic and critical to the success of that mission and blab it all over the internet. Of course, the irony is that I have a YouTube channel as well, right? But these are important issues. But the real challenge for the American people now is going to be ongoing, and it's going to be a very difficult time because they have a Pluto return in their astrological chart of the USA itself, which means that it's not even starting actually properly till next year, till 2022 to 2024. And this actually means in a lot of ways that there's going to be a lot of long, slow upheavals. And the astrology actually of January for 2021 is the most difficult in some ways, but because of these Uranus squares that will happen this year, it will be continual, but this is basically the intensification of it in this month. So the people of America they're not going to have an easy time in the next few years no matter what. They've got a lot of challenges that will be needed to work through that can't be avoided or put off. Obviously there's a lot of issues with the endless printing of the US dollar, the debt, the geopolitical instability with China, a lot of social issues that they have got to deal with. Then on top of that, of course, the so-called pandemic, which is global in nature, of course. So some of these issues are going to require a long-term solution. They're not going to go away easily. So I guess the really important thing to understand is that there is a lot of ideas and things flying away around. I did want to make at the beginning of this video that I am not a supporter of the whole QUE philosophy at all. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's credible. I think it's a very sophisticated psyop that has confused a lot of well-meaning people, a lot of people who think too much and act too little, who are much too head-centric and not actually embodying some of the more elevated qualities that's necessary for the ongoing paradigm shift. And really behind it, the essence of the whole mantra of the whole QUE phenomenon is trust the plan. Well, there may be a plan that, if at this stage will stop the inauguration of Biden, will be military in nature. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, you can't rule that out. You can't also rule the possibility out that nothing really is going to happen on the 20th and Biden will be inaugurated and that will be the end of Donald Trump's presidency. You can't rule that out. And anyone who would just dismiss those points of view is dismissing logic and coherent thought. And a lot of the conversation around this election campaign has been extremely emotional and extremely emotionally charged without using intuition, without using coherent, analytical, rational thought, which when those two are combined are very powerful. When the left brain and the right brain are combined, then there's a real power to the views and the discourse that can come from that. But this thing of trusting the plan is really an idea of disempowerment because someone else is going to come and save us. And it really ties in with the external savior myth. And the external savior myth basically is relying on some magical force, some unicorn, some politician to fix all the world's problems. And often it's just simply a projection that someone is wanting someone else to come and fix all of their problems. And there is a passivity behind this idea of doing nothing. There is also a laziness, there is an inertia, and also it's a false light in a way. Now, having said that, as I've just mentioned previously in this video, that doesn't mean that I have the view that necessarily nothing will happen. I've given it a 70% probability that Donald Trump will continue as president. There may be no president for a certain amount of time. There may be some kind of military law. There's so many theories flying around. I don't have a fixed view on that, but I do feel that there is still a lot of this to be played out. The documents that are being declassified will basically echo throughout the legacy of those individuals permanently now, even beyond their death. That's baked in the cake. There is going to be upheaval, turmoil, and the truth will always shine through no matter what happens on the 20th. So I'm really encouraging everyone to stay calm, stay focused, do meditation, not get dragged into the drama. And if you do see this in the USA, I really, please don't go into Washington DC and get involved in anything to do with all the capital cities, the government buildings around the USA. Just stay at home. It's just not a time for any of this. Things are unstable enough as they are. There's over 20,000 soldiers, the National Guard, in Washington DC for this inauguration. They've actually blocked mobile phone transmissions and internet transmissions there. There's so much going on there. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And that's my summation of why I'm giving, without going into the details, still a 70% chance that that Donald Trump will retain the presidency. So I'm super confident that regardless of what happens happening, it will be happening for the best possible outcome for the global paradigm shift, that is unstoppable. It's just simply that the path may change trajectory depending on what happens. And if you're watching this and you're in Australia, remember we need to tend to our own garden here. We have got a lot of problems that are occurring here in our own country, and we shouldn't be focusing too much on what's going on in someone else's backyard when we should be tending our own garden here. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say in this update, and it's going to be an exciting time regardless this decade and this year. We are really moving now deeper into the shift. The awakening is unstoppable. So many people are questioning the consensus reality now, questioning the norm, and I'm more confident than ever that we're going to see some rebalancing between the light and the dark, and this is going to play out across, as I always say, the window 2020 to 2040. So thanks for watching. We live in epic times.